Okay, I'll be going over problem 8 from the 2018 final. So, say that 3 people are deciding among 7 candidates, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Their preferences are shown below. So for the first person, their best candidate is their best two worst candidates are A, B, C, G, B, E, and F. So that's their preference. Two is B, E, F, D, C, G, E, C, G, A, and 3 is G, C, E, B, D, A, F. So all this basically means is just which candidates they prefer. So they prefer G over C and so on. So now that we know their preference, we could go ahead and see overall which 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 three all those 3 people, which candidates they prefer altogether. For example, let's start with A. So let's see if they prefer either candidate A or B. So for person 1, they prefer A over B. Since A is their best option, it's at the top, and B is close to the bottom, to the worst. So candidate 1 prefers A over B. For person 2, they prefer B over A. For person 3, they prefer B over A. So for person 1, they prefer A over B. For person 2, B over A. And person 3, B over A. So overall, B dominates A, since 2 and 3 prefer B over A. So we can say that B dominates A. So that's the way to solve these, or to find out which one is more dominated. And we're gonna have to do that for every single one. So for AB, for AC, C is bigger than A, C is bigger than A. So we could see that person 2 and 3 prefer C over A. So C is dominated by A. Now, if we keep doing that, so A and B, A, C, now A and D, D dominates A. For A and E, E dominates A. For A and F, A dominates F. For G, G dominates A. Now that we started with A and went all the way down the letters, down through B through G, we go ahead and start with B and do the same thing. So we start with B, and since we already had B and A, we could go ahead and skip B and A and compare it to C. So C, person 1 prefers C over B, person 2 prefers B over C, person 3 prefers C over B. Therefore, we go ahead and write down that C dominates B. And if we keep doing that, C, B, C and D, D prefers C, C and E, C prefers E, C and F, C prefers F, C and G, C prefers G. Now we could go ahead and start with D. We already have DA here. So TB, B prefers D, or sorry, not B prefers D. B is stronger than D. They prefer B over D. Now B and E, they prefer B over E. They prefer B over F. And for G, they prefer G over B. Now that we have all of those, we start with C. So C and A, we already have a CB, CD, CE, CF, Oh, we just did C, sorry. So let's start with D. TA, we already have. TP, we have. TC, we have. TE, we don't. And E dominates T. DF, D dominates F. And D dominates G. Okay, now we could do E. So EA we have already. We have EA already. EP we have. EC we have. ED we have. EF we don't have. And E dominates F. And EG we don't have, but G dominates F. Okay. So I think those are all the possible dominations in this game. Wait, I think I'm missing one. B, G, F, G, E, E. Okay, yeah, we're missing E, G, and E. So if we go back here, person 1 prefers G over E, 2 prefers E over G, 3 prefers G over E. So G is bigger than E. So G bigger than, or G is bigger than E. They prefer G over E. So now that we have all these possibilities, we could go ahead and answer question A. Is there a voting agenda in which the group chooses G? If so, write this down as a tree. So to write a voting agenda, the way we do it is like an extensive form game. So it's going to end up looking something like this right here, with the candidates being right here, X, Y, Z, and so on. And the payoffs are going to obviously be right here. So if we go ahead and do that, but in order to do that first, we need, in order for G to win, we need G to start at the beginning, and we need every letter that comes first to dominate what other letters go over here. So for every one of these need to be dominated by them. So in order to do that, we need to see what G dominates. And we could do that by using this up here. So G dominates C. No, G does not dominate C. G dominates, let's go ahead and do B, since B dominates more people, so it'll be easier to choose B. G dominates B. B dominates, let's see how to erase this. B dominates D. D dominates D dominates C. C dominates E. And E dominates A. And A dominates F. The way I chose these was I just looked at which candidate dominates over more candidates. So B dominates 1, 2, 3, 4 people. C dominates 1, 2, 3, 4 people. G dominates 1, 2, 3, 4. D 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you notice, the ones that dominate 4, B, C, D, and G, they're the first ones I chose. And then let's see, and then E dominates 3 people, so they're usually the next one. And then the last one's obviously A and F, and then F doesn't dominate anything, so it's their last. And the reason you do this is because if you start off with G, if you make G dominate, if you start off the game like this, which is true, you could do that. However, now A only dominates F. And if you do A dominates F, you can't include any other candidates, B, C, D, like B, C, D, and E, and you need to. So therefore, you can't do that. So once we have this, we could write it as an extensive form game, which is basically the voting agenda. So they prefer G, then B, then D, then C, then E, then A, and then F, and then A, E, C, D, B, and G. So I just wrote them in order how they are up here. So now to find it, let's see. We basically just find the Nash equilibrium how we would do in a Nash in an extensive form game. So let's see. We have E here. E prefers. Oh, let's start up here actually. Okay, so are they gonna prefer A or F? They're gonna obviously prefer A. Since this tells us they prefer A. And are they gonna, so now we go down to this node. Do they prefer E or A? They're gonna prefer E. At this node, do they prefer C or E? They prefer C. So it's basically just a pattern. Are they gonna, the next node, are they gonna prefer D or C? They're obviously gonna prefer D. That's what this tells us. And it's the same thing all the way down. So since we start here, there's no way they could go up this way. So they're going to prefer going down, so they're going to prefer G. So this agenda here shows that the group chooses G. So part B says, is there a voting agenda in which the group chooses A? So once again, it's the same thing. But this time, we have to start A at the beginning. But like I said earlier, A only dominates F. So if we make A dominate F, then over here we have F does not dominate anything else. So we can't have a voting agenda where the group chooses A, since F doesn't dominate anything at all. So therefore, no, we can't make an agenda, because if candidate A beats F, F can't be any other. So no. C asks, what is the top cycle? So the top cycle, the way to calculate the top cycle is basically just to find out which candidates dominate and everything else. So we already found out that G can dominate. So there's a long way to this, which is to write this down like a voting agenda, which we did up here, but there also is a shortcut to not do much work. So what is a top cycle? One of them is this, is the one we already came up with. However, the shortcut to this is we know, like I said up here, since G has 4 possibilities, D has 4 possibilities, C has 4 possibilities, and B has 4 possibilities. So we know that all of those are gonna have a voting agenda in which they choose them, like those candidates. So D is gonna have a game, as well as C, as well as B. So all of these are going to be able to have a game. Now, the only candidates that are left over are A, E, and F, which we don't have. So we already said that A cannot have a voting agenda in which they choose A. So they're never going to choose A. A is never going to win. So therefore, A isn't part of the top cycle. And now, let's see. Now F doesn't dominate anything. So A and F are instantly out. Now the last one, which was E, we could go ahead and for E, we could go ahead and write down the game to see if it actually dominates all the others. So let's do that. So E, let's see. E, we don't want to start off with A since A doesn't dominate anything. So we could either, and we don't want to do F either since F doesn't dominate anything else. So the only option is D. So E is bigger than D, which D, let's see, is greater than C. And C is greater than, let's do G. And G is greater than B. And the last one, obviously, A and F. So there is a game also for E. There's a game for E, G, D, C, and B. However, A and F are out. And the top cycle basically means which candidates are at the top that are possible to create a game in which they dominate everything else. So all of these would be in the top cycle, and these wouldn't. So the top cycle would be B, C, D, E, and G. And the way you could also write this is just in a little circle. We have B, C, D, E, and G with some arrows. All of these just go in a circle. They keep on dominating each other. And down here we have A and F. F is last because F does not dominate anything. However, A does dominate F. So that's the top cycle. Now for D as say that a political consultant goes around to the candidates and offers a service. This consultant is able to persuade any candidate, but only one candidate to drop out. In other words, a candidate who hires this consultant can make one opponent drop out. Which candidate can benefit the most by hiring the consultant? Which candidate will the consultant make drop out? Will the consultant make drop out? Please explain your work. Okay. So let's see. So the best way to see which candidate will benefit the most is to see how many opponents beat a certain opponent. So when we go back up here, let's see. So B is dominated by, so let's see how many, so since B dominates 4 people, let's see how many other people dominate B. So C dominates B, and then G dominates B, and I think that's it. Is that B? Let's see. Yeah, so I think that's it. So after, so C, let's see, no, it's B, sorry. B gets dominated by 2 other people, and C gets dominated by 1, just 1, let's see, who else? B, A, B, D just gets dominated by 1. Sorry, C. D gets dominated by 1, 2, by 2 people, and E gets dominated by 1, 2, 3 people. And F and G, F gets dominated by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so all 6 people. G gets dominated by, let's see, what is, G gets dominated by 1, just 1, and then I think here 2. Yeah, C is bigger than G, so by 2 people. Let me write this better. C, C, G. So they get dominated. He gets dominated by 3 people also. So now that we could see this, it says, let's go back to the question. It says, this consultant is able to persuade any candidate, but only one candidate to drop out. In other words, a candidate who hires this consultant can make one opponent drop out. So only one person. Which candidate can benefit the most? So if B does this, their 2 goes to 1, so only they're dominated by one more person. C does this, they get 0. All I'm doing here is just subtracting the amount of people that dominate them minus 1, since they could make one opponent drop out. So D, this turns into 1, 2, 5, and 2. So the best person that benefits from this would obviously be C, since C would have no one else dominate them. And if C has no one else that dominates them, then C would be the Condorcet winner. And yeah, the person that would least benefit from this would be F. But yeah, C would be the best candidate that would benefit from this. Thanks.